I was part of a team tasked with finding a rare element in the Dark Hills. My name is Christopher Paulson, and I was the head geologist in a secret government agency tasked with finding new minerals in the earth. Over the years, I have seen some strange things with the department, but after what I experienced in the last week, I have to share this with somebody. This story needs to get out. The day started out like any average day at the department, until I got a call from one of the mysterious heads of the department. We rarely saw these people and knew little about them, so when one called you, it meant something important. The voice over the phone told me about a newly discovered cave in the Dark Hills of Upper Canada. Furthermore, he told me that there had been reports of the rare material funkonium. This piqued my interest as only a few grams of funkonium had been found ever. A new source of it could allow us to explore its properties and conduct more in-depth research on it. From what little we had found it to be denser than titanium and had a mysterious life force to it with rejuvenating properties. When rats in the lab were given only a few micrograms of funkonium, it increased their liveliness by 60% and contributed to extensive muscle gain and increased aggression. Knowing how important this find could be, I set of creating a team to go explore the newly discovered cave in the Black Hills. The next day, we set off with a team of 6 to go explore the cave. Me, 2 more junior geologists, a cave expert, and 2 American soldiers to aid us in the mission. After getting in the helicopter provided for us, we embarked on the 10-hour flight deep into rural Canada to locate the Dark Hills. Nearing the location, I looked out of my window and saw the strange hills laid out below me. They were bare rolling hills devoid of any vegetation with a dark black hue. Lines resembling creases bisected the hills, and bulges of rock jutted out from several spots. Our helicopter landed in a grassy clearing a few hundred yards from the hills. As we unloaded all of our things, I noticed something about the trees and sea of grass around us. They all seemed to be swaying in unison. This seemed rather strange, but I didn't think much of it, being too excited because of the upcoming expedition. Looking back, I wish I'd seen the signs earlier and could have prevented things. Nevertheless, we carried on and trekked the remaining distance to the spot where the cave should be. Eventually, I saw the entrance, a circular-shaped hole in the rock face, looking wrinkled and a little lighter compared to the black rocks around it. The entrance sat in a crevice of sorts, with above the entrance being a big glob of black rock overhanging the cliff, and below being a small rounded hill leading up to the entrance. Everywhere I looked on the formation was curved and smooth, unlike anything I had ever seen before. I sat transfixed at first, thinking of the incredible weathering that must have happened to this area to enable this alien landscape. Before proceeding into the cave, we radioed the department detailing our plans to move forward. Upon receiving the okay, we entered the cave and turned on the funkonium tracker. At once the smell hit us. The smell of sulfur and other things commonly associated with what you would find in a public outhouse. One of our geologists threw up from the scent, but the mission was too important to turn back now. Besides, we had come prepared with gas masks to prevent us from breathing in any toxic chemicals. Further down, the tunnel got more moist, and the floor became more spongy, giving way to the foot when walked on. Small ridges appeared in circular patterns every few yards or so. The smell worsened as we trekked further, but about 60 yards in, the funkonium detector went off next to a small patch in the wall. Excitedly, I got out the handheld laser drill from the pack and began to look for my prize. Seeing a glint of silver in the patch, I dug it into the spongy cave wall and turned it on. As I did, a low rumble filled the chamber and a hot wind suddenly picked up. What Silmias resonated from the walls all around us, leading to more rumbling and all of us falling to the ground, bewildered. Suddenly, a huge jet of putrid air blasted out of the tunnel, pushing us back the way we came, soaring through the tunnel. I didn't know what was happening and grew disoriented while tumbling through the air. I got my bearings when I crashed into the hard ground outside of the cave. I must have hit my head on a rock or two because the world began to go dark around me. But what I saw I know to be true. I heard a deep noise from the mountain itself. No, not a noise. A voice saying, "What the fuck are you doing in my asshole?" The mountains had shifted, revealing a massive hand sticking out of the midpoint of the range, along with a huge head. Inside the hand was one of the soldiers being gripped tightly by the monstrous hand. The great folds of the mountains shifted, revealing them to be massive folds of fat and loose skin. The voice again roared out, "What are you doing back there, little man?" This was followed up by, "You smell like funk. You were trying to steal my funk, weren't you?" Everything started to fade to black, and the last thing I remember was the behemoth throwing the poor soul into its gaping jaws. When I finally came to, I groggily sat up still with a piercing pain in my head. Looking around, my stomach began to sink. It was gone. Instead of rolling black hills, there sat a massive crater with no sign of any of my crew anywhere. The only thing I could find was the radio which I used to contact the department. A team was sent out to get me and locate the rest of the crew. They were never found. When I got back, I was sworn to secrecy. They gave no answers on what had happened after I recounted my story. Later at home, I started to dig for answers. In old Native American legends from tribes who lived around the area, a great leviathan had roamed the area, consuming all the animals and anything edible in sight. They revered it as a god and made human sacrifices every year to appease it. In their language is known as the Leviathan, god of gluttony. The story goes that one day, it had settled down and died, creating the Dark Hills a sacred spot for the natives. Well, I know one thing. The god is not dead, and he is not appeased.